With Elden Ring mania sweeping the nation, sweeping the very world, we thought we'd talk about the thing that everybody hates the most in gaming and media in general, is when somebody says some dumb shit that ruins the game for you.
This video contains no spoilers for Elden Ring. We're not talking about Elden Ring.
Not talking about Elden Ring.
No matter how far we're into it.
But I'm sure I'll put a spoilery thing in the thumbnail that's like, oh, they're going to talk about Elden Ring. Oh, tricked. Clickbait.
Bamboozled.
Got him. Yeah, it's going to take like weeks and weeks for everybody to get to a good point where they can maybe safely go on the internet and accidentally see something that ruins everything for them. Or maybe they didn't know about it, but they've already gotten far enough in the game.
I got yelled at.
We're not talking about Elden Ring. We're not talking about Elden Ring.
I got yelled at for Bloodborne spoilers the other day.
Bloodborne?
I said a Bloodborne boss, and I was like, that game came out like years ago. What's the statute of limitations here?
That's a great question. That's something we can know. Hey, that's a 7-year-old game. This is 7. Is it 10 years? Is it 5 years?
I don't know.
Because I feel like with movies, it might be almost timeless. Like, Shutter Island is a pretty good psychological thriller. Would you ruin that for someone by accident?
Yeah, but in the movie world, if you are online at all and you don't see a movie within a week, it is spoiled for you. I still haven't seen Spider-Man, and I know everything that happens in that movie.
I was just going to bring that up because I think it was 2 weeks after Spider-Man No Way Home had come out. I was still trying to get a thing to see it. I had to get a COVID test and a bunch of stuff because we had a close contact. And then I like either opened Reddit or I opened YouTube, and there was just a thumbnail, and I was like...
Yeah, because the thumbnails will get you every time. And if it's something that...
And the worst...
God forbid that you're interested in it, and you watch related content, because it will be in your recommended.
And it wasn't even the thing that you think I'm referring to, but there's no spoilers here. It was a different thing. It was a different thing, and that was spoiled, and I was like... So I guess on the internet it's 2 weeks.
It feels like 2 weeks. It feels less than that on the internet sometimes.
Well, I don't know. I mean, if you don't look at like the Elden Ring subreddit, you probably won't get spoiled for it too badly. I mean, spoiler, like everyone's going to be talking about like the way a game or a movie makes you feel, or like, oh man, this was great. They're not going to, it's not a spoiler that something is good or bad, or is it?
Yeah, I think there are levels of spoilers, and I think it's almost directly correlated to the hype of that thing. So with
like how into it you are?
Yeah, like with Elden Ring, I knew for sure I was going to play it, even if reviews were like average.
I'm not talking about Elden
Ring. No talking about Elden Ring. So I went on total blackout before I bought it, because I was like, I know I'm going to play it anyway. I don't want to know anything.
Every time somebody was about to talk to you about Elden Ring, you just took a bunch of shots of tequila and then you passed out. And you were like, sorry, I don't remember anything.
Away. That's what I do every day.
Yeah, well, you said you went on spoiler blackout, so I just imagined you were just like...
But other games...
The next day...
Other games that have come out recently, like Horizon just came out, right? You can tell me anything about Horizon, I don't care. Like,
I haven't played it.
Like, it doesn't matter to me.
I mean... Yeah, see, that's another thing. Like, you're not like super into Horizon, but we're like super into this kind of situation. I'm gonna think of a stand-in for saying Elden Ring too many times because we're gonna keep saying it. Harry Potter. Like super into Harry Potter.
The world was going to Borders.
Yeah,
getting in that book line.
Yeah, that was a thing I was thinking about. Like a very famous instance of spoilers was when people would do like drive-by spoiling. Because they'd read the book manuscript had leaked for Half-Blood Prince.
Yeah,
and people had read it and were just driving by Barnes and Nobles and Borders bookstores with a megaphone yelling "Snape kills Dumbledore" out the car window.
Could you imagine if someone did that? Like drove by a GameStop and shouted the ending of like some game. But
I feel like there's no game good enough where I'd be that annoyed with it.
I think there are games that, like, without their twist, they lose a lot of essence of what they are.
Name a game that has a... Okay, so I think we were talking in pre-production about, like, Bioshock Infinite.
Yeah.
If that, which doesn't have a twist, or maybe it doesn't. Sure. It does. If that possible plot element was screamed to you out of a car through the megaphone in, like, a 2005 Nissan Altima...
Accurate.
If that's even a year that car came out. It sounds like a 90s car.
See, I'm thinking...
Would you be really mad?
I'm thinking the opposite. I think Bioshock Infinite holds up about to the same level whether you know what's going to happen or not. I think BioShock 1 loses a lot of what it is if you know that that's happening.
Okay. Interesting.
Can we spoiler warning BioShock 1?
It's from 2006. 2007, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's pretty old.
So, like, if you play all of BioShock 1 knowing that you're being mind controlled, it loses some of the magic. And BioShock 1's gameplay does not hold up. I don't know if you've played it recently. It has lost a lot of 2007 jank first-person shooter.
I will say this. I love that game to death. The best gun is the shotgun with the gas enhancement power to the people upgrade. It is the jankiest gun I've ever fired. When you fire it, it's like, pow! And you're like, okay, we're back. Pow!
Yeah.
The whole screen shakes like there's an earthquake.
But, like, gameplay spoilers, like, you could say anything about BioShock 1, and, like, I don't think that that's a spoiler to me.
People who were born the year BioShock 1 came out are, like, 16 years old, dude.
It's true.
They can drive cars.
We're old.
That's kind of scary.
Yeah.
I was 16 years old when that game came out.
Yeah. You play a lot of walking simulators, and definitely a lot more than I do.
Yeah.
If those are spoiled going in, how does that impact you?
I'm trying to think of a point in one of them that would be like a spoilery, twisty kind of thing that would happen. Because, like, Edith Finch, Gone Home.
So Gone
Vanishing
Home...
of Ethan Carter.
I don't know if everybody went through this, but Gone Home was, like, a development for me where, like, I didn't really know... Gone Home is relatively recent after walking simulators existed. Like, it was one of the first ones that had that
It was one of the first
moniker.
major ones, yeah.
And so, like, you didn't know what this game was. It was like, was it a horror game? What happened?
It felt
with
like
his
it was
family?
gonna be.
Like, it felt like things were gonna jump out at you, and like that development, I feel like, is important to that game. Like that confusion of, I don't know exactly what I'm coming into. I don't know exactly what this is. I feel like that helped a lot of that game now. Like, I feel like if Gone Home came out now, it wouldn't have the impact that it did when it originally came out.
Mostly because it would have come out and then there would have been all the games that came before it that were basically walking simulators but slightly better with a different... I mean, because other games have done the same kind of touching points that Gone Home has done by now.
Yeah.
So it'd be a little weird to rehash that.
For sure.
It's kind of an anachronism joke. It's kind of stupid. My bad. I had a thought and then you brought up Gone Home and I can't remember what it was.
My bad. Walking simulators.
No, that's fine. Oh, right. So I remember back in the day, because I know some people, there's some very passionate people who, when they think of, like, when trailers come out for something they know they're going to want to see, they ignore them, and they will never watch them. Like, they didn't watch the Spider-Man trailer. They love Batman. They haven't watched any of the Batman trailers. Because some studios just give the whole game away.
Yeah, movies are really bad about that. I think games are less bad at that, but I feel like that's because games are longer. And they want to show off gameplay mechanics in their trailer.
Well, I think it's the opposite. I think a lot of game trailers, at least back, if you think of the BioShock 1 trailer, it's all pre-rendered. It's like a CGI cinematic. It's all alpha pre-beta footage.
Right.
So I guess it's different in modern games because they actually have good enough graphics that they want to show it off in engine. But back in the day, at least, when I'm thinking of, like, peak when I watched trailers for everything.
Yeah. Pre-2010.
It was just like pre-rendered cinematics, so nothing was what the game looked like in the end. So
it was the bait and switch back in the day, where they were like, this is what the game is, and then it wasn't that.
Up and even till like PS3 and PS4, they were still doing that. It would be like, the Killzone debacle? There was like a crazy trailer for either Killzone or Resistance, where it looked really good at E3, and then it was completely wrong, and there was a huge backlash about it.
Well, Puddlegate with Spider-Man was a big deal, where the puddle looked beautiful.
Fuck off with Puddlegate.
Like the most overblown thing ever.
I mean, that's because they're rendering the game on like a 3090 Ti or whatever, and then it's like, oh yeah, we have to take out the ray tracing to put it in this stupid plastic brick you have on your desk, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's the same thing of, like, if you listen to the original versions of, like, SNES and N64 orchestrated soundtracks, you're like, wow, they had to cut all of the corners off that and sand it down to a tiny little speck to fit all of that sound onto the chip, and it's a shadow of what it originally was. So that's what ends up happening with all this stuff. But Okay, so there was a psychological study that I remember reading a long time ago when it comes to like watching spoilers and stuff, and they were trying to see. First of all, I have no idea how this even makes sense because you can only really see something once. So how would you know if they would have a different reaction? So they tested people where they watched something that had a twist, and they tested people where they watched something where there was a twist, but the people knew about it ahead of time. And it wasn't a lot, but the people who knew the twist ahead of time enjoyed it slightly more, or at least reported enjoying it more, because they were ready for it and they were like, yeah, when it happened.
Interesting.
But it was only for movies. I think it might be different for games. But like... Okay. But, like, I like that idea. So, like, knowing ahead of time things that were going to happen in Spider-Man that were good, I was like, when it happened, you're like, yeah! Because it's not like, because you're like, oh, it's going to happen. Yeah, then it happens and you're excited about it. But, like, I don't think that would be the same. I mean, it's not for everybody, obviously, but I agree with that group. I agree with that idea. That sometimes a twist is better when you know it. And it's not always, it's not the same. It's probably like 70-30 for me, when the 30% is when it's better when I don't know it. I'm trying to think of the most recent time that happened. There was a huge twist in something that I didn't see coming, and it was very exciting.
In a movie?
Yeah. I mean, the problem is, like, there's a lot of writing. You either overanalyze something, you think they're gonna do it harder or they're gonna do it softer, where, oh, this guy, let's take, that's too recent. I shouldn't talk about Hawkeye. You imagine, oh, this character's being set up to seem like he's the bad guy. Oh, he's the good guy. Oh, he's actually the bad guy. Like that kind of thing.
The double bait and switch.
Yeah, like, I mean, what's a good old example? Frozen 1, the guy in Frozen 1.
Well, that's just bad writing. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm coming after Frozen. The bad guy twist in Frozen is stupid.
Yeah.
Like, cut it out. Like, he becomes bad out of nowhere just so the movie has a villain. And then...
But they complete each other's sandwiches. Moldy, old, gross, evil sandwiches.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I mean, we should put spoiler tags on this video for, like, 15-year-old properties. Spoilers for Monsters, Inc. The guy who's clearly the bad guy was, in fact, the bad guy the whole time. The weird purple salamander.
It's messed up.
The fuck is his name? And the guy who looks like a giant spider? Spoilers, he's also a bad guy. It's a Pixar movie. The guy who looks evil is always the bad guy.
It's true. It's true. It's all evil. It's all evil.
Do you got any more closing remarks on are spoilers good? Are spoilers bad? When does spoilers? Kyle, please stop spoiling everything for us, Kyle.
Yeah,
calling you out, Kyle.
I think spoilers go through phases. I think I agree with what you're saying, where it's like some things it's okay for me to be spoiled on, and it doesn't bother me, and some things I'm like, I want to experience that myself. And with games, it's interesting because there's so many different levels to it, where there's story spoilers, there's gameplay spoilers, there's like development spoilers in not plot details but in like environment details, and like you come to this place and it's beautiful and you can't believe it. Like, I'm thinking of dumb things like in The Last of Us, how everybody loves the stupid giraffe scene where they pet the giraffes. Is that a spoiler?
I don't know. It's a cool moment, I guess. It's like an awe moment.
It's an important moment thematically in the arc of the story because it's a nice respite before where the story takes its darkest turn at the end. But it's not like they pet some fucking giraffes. Like, whatever.
Fun fact about giraffes: they can't swim, but nobody knows if they can't swim because they've never seen a giraffe swim. And then people at an actual institution were paid real money to model what a giraffe would look like if it tried to swim. And due to its center of balance, it's like 4 legs, head is like underwater, and it can't keep its neck above water.
This can't be true. How can we not know?
This is real.
No, there's no way that
nobody's ever seen a giraffe swim.
There's no way that we don't know if giraffes can swim or not.
I'll Google giraffe in water. Well, we know now because they did they modeled it. Yeah, they don't go on. They don't.
So the answer is giraffes don't swim.
Yeah, because they can't.
Right. So that's different than we don't know that giraffes can't swim.
But the reason we know they can't is because A, we've never seen it, and B, they did a model and it showed that they wouldn't be able to.
No scientist took a giraffe and put it in water, and we're like, what happens?
That's animal cruelty, Peter. Oh, okay. They would never do that.
That didn't exist in the 60s.
I'm just saying, if you Google giraffe in water, it's them walking on the bottom Or them doing the weird splayed thing to drink water. There's the picture from the study I was talking about where they tried to prove a giraffe could float and it can't. And
I didn't expect this episode to go into scientific studies. I don't have any in my back pocket for that.
You watch weird science shows from time. There's a picture of a giraffe fell in somebody's pool in Africa. That's pretty funny, actually.
We're bouncing out of there. I don't know.
Spoilers for giraffes can or can't swim. They can't swim. I think what it comes down to, Peter, is your engagement with the product. If you don't care about Harry Potter, you don't care about the spoiler that Snape kills Dumbledore yelled at you out of a passing car with a megaphone. But if you care a lot about Elden Ring, which we're not talking about...
We're not talking about Elden Ring in this episode.
Bringing it back. If somebody told you a very small snippet of something they had found several hours ahead of you in progression, you could probably extrapolate from what you know, because you're a hardcore gamer, what they're talking about, and your brain inferred the spoiler for you. It's not totally their fault. They tried not to spoil it, but your brain is just too good.
I don't know. Goes every way. But we're not talking about Elden Ring, so it doesn't even matter.
We're not talking about Elden Ring. No, we're not talking about Elden Ring. I've definitely had that with games in the past where I was like, nobody say anything. And they were like, let me just say this. And I'm like, don't? And they say a tiny thing, and I'm like, and my brain figured it out. So you're like, thanks. Now that's ruined.
That's on them. They're the wrong party in that situation because you told them not to.
I told you not to, Kyle.
Listen, if we can explicitly be clear about what we consider spoilers to each other, we could all be happy. Get some nice spoiler tags on your subreddit, mark it appropriately. You're still going to get spoiled if you go there. There is some personal responsibility here. But, I don't know. Generally, I find myself very resistant to spoilers. Like, I will just roll with it. Like, it doesn't take a lot out of it for me to not go in blind on something. But I try to have a genuine reaction to things as much as I can. And the only way to do that is to avoid spoilers.
Okay, so how's this for a spoiler in a game that you've experience in, right?
Okay.
So if you're at the Silent Chief in Demon Souls in the horrible swamp of gross, disgusting bugs and slugs and weird monsters and shit, and you free him, and to do the Mephistopheles quest, you have to kill him. But if you don't, because you think he's a good NPC, and you have only the experience of like Dark Souls 2 and 3 or whatever, where most NPCs are good unless they're patches and they're super obviously an asshole, you let him go back, and you ignore him, you don't even think about it again, and then you come back and he's killed half your merchants. You think that's the thing you'd probably want to be spoiled for, you to be like, hey, the game's going to dick you over hard? I'm going to tell you how to avoid that. If that happened in Elden Ring, and you didn't spoil that for me, I'd be very upset.
Yeah.
I'd be like, he killed all the dudes!
Yeah.
But I don't know if that happens. I hope it doesn't.
That may or may not.
I swear to God, if you did that
again. May or may not have happened to me already in Elden Ring, but you'll never know because I'm not talking about Elden Ring in this.
You're not talking about it. You're not talking about it at all.
So, I agree. I think for things like that, you want to be spoiled on, especially because it's so hard in trophy hunting, in the trophy hunting community, because you want to be aware that you're not going to lock yourself out of a trophy, especially if it requires a whole extra playthrough. But also,
I may have already killed someone. Yeah, I think we were in a chat together like yesterday, and I think I killed someone, and you were like, "Wow, you killed them?" And I was like, "Yeah, why?" And they were like, nobody else did." But we're not talking about that.
But we're not talking about Elden Ring.
We're not talking about that. No.
What's the worst thing that's ever been spoiled for you?
I had a Tupperware of really nice potato salad that I actually went to the back of the fridge behind some other preserves, and I didn't notice it, and then 3 days later it was bad, and I was very upset. I actually ate it anyway and threw up.
I thought we weren't talking about Elden Ring.
Oh, there's potato salad in Elden Ring. You've spoiled it for me, Peter. I couldn't tell you because I've been I've been pretty good about not getting spoiled for a very long time. What about you?
Yeah. I think the last major thing that was spoiled for me was Horizon. I think
1?
Horizon 1 was spoiled for me.
Was it by Kyle?
It was not. It was by a podcast that said they were doing no spoilers, and exactly what you said you were talking about earlier, where it was like, we're not going to talk about the spoiler, but we're going to talk around the spoiler, and then you're able to infer what that means.
What they're talking about, yeah.
And then you play a little bit, you play an hour of the game, and you're like, I know exactly what they were talking about.
Yeah. Which a lot of people will say that's your fault for listening to it at all. But like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, I think some
I
of that
guess.
is on me, but like when you're watching something that is review no spoilers, do it with a review with no spoilers. I don't understand.
Well, now you know what to expect from that guy's review, no spoilers. I think
Exactly.
the biggest spoiler that's ever happened to me was BioShock Infinite, only because I think I like said to you what I thought the twist was be, and your reaction told me it was true, and I was like, wait, really? And you were like, how did you fucking guess that? And I was like, well, I guess that's spoiled, but also, yay, I'm the best.
Yeah. I think you watched like an hour of the game and you're like, this is how it ends. I was like, what?
Yeah, I wasn't... I mean, I didn't get the actual ending with all the fucking 50 lighthouses or whatever, but I got the other part.
There's always a lighthouse, but we're not talking about Elden Ring.
We're not talking about Elden Ring. Oh! He brought it back again! I really want to play Elden Ring. Can we stop recording so I can play Elden Ring?
Yeah. So in the comments, leave your worst spoiler and spoil it for somebody.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Giraffes can't swim.
Giraffes can't swim. We're bringing
Giraffes
it back.
can't swim.
We don't know if giraffes can swim, but we're not talking about Elden Ring. This episode got weird.